I'm going to have to remake my Ralph Leon Yates video because I have changed my mind about him. I wish I had a photo of him. That would be very interesting to see a photo of Ralph. But this will have to do. Ralph, of course, is the refrigeration repairman who picked up Lee Harvey Oswald on November 20th, 1963. 5 days after the assassination, Yates went to the FBI, told his story, and they wrote up this report. Yates stated that he is employed as a refrigeration serviceman for the Texas Butcher Supply Company, Dallas, Texas, and in connection with this employment was driving a pickup truck on R.L. Thornton Expressway at approximately 10:30 a.m. on either November 20th or 21st, 1963. He later fixes the date to November 20th, and I'm going to go with that. He stated he noticed a man hitchhiking at approximately the Beckley Street entrance to the R.L. Thornton Expressway, and he stopped to pick up this man. I'll note here that, to judge by today's maps, there are two entrances which could be considered to be Beckley Ave entrances to the expressway. Yates said after seeing photographs and television pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald, he is of the opinion that this man was identical with Oswald. He continued that when the man walked up to get into the pickup truck, he was carrying a package wrapped in brown wrapping paper about 4 feet to 4.5 feet long. He said he told this man he could put the package in the back of the truck, but the man said that the package contained curtain rods and he would carry it with him in the cab of the truck. I'll note here that the bag found in the Texas School Book Depository looks like it's about 4 to 4.5 feet long, and it matches what Yates here says better than it matches what Buell Wesley Frazier said about the curtain rod package he said Oswald was carrying on the morning of the assassination. Also, I can't find any reference to curtain rods in the public media prior to the Warren Commission report being released. Even here on the day that Buell Wesley Frazier testified, this story here doesn't mention curtain rods. So I think Yates is relating inside information, that is the curtain rod story, that he couldn't have got through the media. Yates stated as they drove along, the man had asked him if he knew a certain party, whose name Yates cannot recall now, and he indicated to this man that he did not. Now, in a subsequent statement, Yates remembers the name, and it's Jack Ruby. He said the man then asked if he had ever been to the Carousel Club, and Yates had replied that he had serviced refrigerators in the past in a number of clubs, and that possibly he had been to this one, but he did not recall. Yates said that he had said to the man that there was going to be a lot of excitement in Dallas soon, referring to the president's visit, and the man had asked Yates what he meant. He said he replied that the president was coming to Dallas, but that he personally felt that the president should not come in view of the Adlai Stevenson incident which had occurred previously. Yates stated the man then asked Yates if he thought a person could assassinate the president. Yates replied that he guessed such a thing could be possible. The man then asked Yates if it could be done from the top of a building or out of a window, high up, and Yates said he guessed this was possible if one had a good rifle with a scope and was a good shot. Yates advised about this time the man pulled out a picture which showed a man with a rifle, and Yates and asked Yates if he thought the president could be killed with a gun like that one. Yates said he was driving and did not look at the picture, but indicated to the man that he guessed so. In a subsequent statement, Yates describes this picture very fully, as if he had studied it. So I don't know what to make of that, but the photograph he describes in a subsequent interview actually sounds like one of the backyard photographs of Oswald and the rifle. So apparently Yates is saying he was shown one of the backyard photos, and this is before the public heard about those, before they saw them. In fact, the backyard photo didn't go public until Life magazine published it in February of 1964. So more inside information that Yates knows 5 days after the assassination. Now, even though the photographs had not been published by the time of Yates' account being given to the FBI, it had been reported in the news that photographs were discovered, and they were described to some extent. So it's possible, one could argue, that Yates constructed his memory of being shown one of the backyard photos from a description he had read in a newspaper. I've read a couple of these descriptions now, and none of them is real specific, but the ones I've read did mention that the person in the picture had a rifle and a pistol, so that could explain Yates conflating news he has read with his memory. But I think it's more likely that Yates did see a photograph. The one he describes, he has the butt of the rifle on the ground, and that wouldn't be one of the backyard photos that we know about today. You have to speculate if you want to have a clear answer on this point, but they were reported in the news. Yates said that the man then asked if he knew the president's route for the parade in Dallas, and Yates replied that he did not know the route, but that it had been in the paper. He said the man then said that he had misunderstood him, and that he had asked Yates if he thought that the president would change his route. Yates said he replied that he doubted it unless they might for safety reasons. He said as they approached downtown Dallas, the man indicated that he was going on Houston Street, and that although he was going to Irving, he told the man he would drive off the expressway to Houston Street and let him out there, then would go back on the expressway. Yates said he went off the expressway on Commerce Street, turned off of Commerce on Houston, drove north on Houston, and then let the man off at the corner of Elm and Houston Streets, which of course is the location of the Texas School Book Depository building, where Oswald worked. He said he saw the man cross Elm Street, but does not know where he went from there. He said that as the man got out of the truck, he recalled him saying something about the triple underpass, but cannot recall exactly what was said. Yates stated that he had mentioned this incident to another employee at the Texas Butcher Supply Company, one Dempsey Jones, prior to the time that the president was assassinated. Yates stated that the man he thought was identical with Lee Harvey Oswald, whom he had picked up, was a white male, approximately 5 foot 9 inches tall, slender, with dark eyebrows and hair. He could furnish no additional identifying data. Yates stated he is married and has 5 children, and that he would appreciate not receiving any type of publicity from the fact that he was furnishing this information. So Yates relates a lot of relevant information that was consistent with him having picked up Oswald. A lot of that information, though, you could say 5 days after the assassination he could have known through the media. But these 2 points, I don't think he could have known these through the media. He tells a curtain rod story, one that matches the evidence better than what the Buell Wesley Frazier told. And he also sees a backyard photo. He references that photo in his first interview, and he describes it subsequently, but that's before any of those photos have been published. So I think these 2 points prove that something happened here. He either really picked up Oswald, or for some other reason he has inside information. In his statement, Yates mentioned that he mentioned this incident to one of his co-workers, Dempsey Jones, and the FBI talked to him on the 28th, the following day. And from that FBI document, it says, Jones said Yates told him he had picked up a boy in Oak Cliff and taken this boy to Houston and Elm and Dallas. Yates said this boy had a package not described at that time, but after the death of the president, Yates described the package as a long package. And then I'm telling the facts over again. Yates said this man told him it was some window shades he was carrying for the company the man had made. Jones said that Yates told him on the first date that the man discussed the fact with him that one could be in a building and shoot the president as the president, passed by. So So this corroborates what Yates said. He told Jones prior to the assassination that he had picked up this person and that this person had some kind of package, even if he didn't describe it, and that this person talked about shooting the president, and that he left the person at Houston and Elm. All of this before the assassination. So even though that's stuff that Yates could have picked up in the media after the assassination, Jones here says that he told him that information before the assassination. Again, this corroborates the Yates story. It means that he either really did pick up Oswald or he's got inside information prior to the assassination. Also on November 28th, the FBI talked to J.R. Gilpin, who was Yates's boss at the Texas Butcher Supply Company, and they were trying to corroborate Yates's story about having picked someone up in Oak Cliff, and whatever. And Yates had told them it was the 20th or the 21st. Well, according to this report, when they questioned Gilpin, they're only dealing with the possibility of it being the 21st. They completely ignore, apparently, that it could have been the 20th. And Yates had told them the 20th or the 21st, and later he settles on the 20th, not the day the FBI was investigating for. So what this, and the FBI are professional investigators, so what this looks like to me is that the FBI is studiously avoiding November 20th, and I think it's because they know it's November 20th. I think someone has been tipped off. The FBI is involved in the cover-up, and I think they're covering up here by not investigating the 20th with his boss. Despite this being an almost certainly genuine sighting of Oswald and giving him a ride, and with a package that could have had a rifle in it, fully assembled, apparently I could find no evidence that the FBI even investigated any further. The next thing that the next thing that comes up, which is December 10th, a couple of weeks later, when Ralph Leon Yates, apparently of his own volitions, decides he wants to make a statement. This is unusual for FBI documents. This looks like a statement he must have written out himself, because it's quoting him, and he signed it, and it's talking in the first person. And this is pretty much the same story he told, except he adds more details here. He mentions Charlie Jordan's meat market for the first time here. I'll get to that in a bit. And now he remembers the name Jack Rubenstein. This is a big change. He now says that they were talking about Jack Ruby and that he didn't know Jack Ruby. But now he remembers that name. And also now he describes the photograph, the backyard photograph, apparently, that Oswald showed him. And that's pretty much all that's added, except for a description of Ralph Leon Yates, which will become significant later in the video. And apparently the FBI just let this matter sit where it was for another 3 weeks. It's not until, in the record, the next thing that I can find anyway, comes from January 2nd, a directive from the director.